Can I also say we do appreciate so many people coming out, and it's certainly, we're looking forward to getting some feedback and from what everybody has got to say tonight. Look, we got supper and a cup of tea. As the Lions girls just told me, please do not have a cup of tea, Mr. Mayor, before. You're supposed to have it afterwards, but apparently I set a precedent by doing that. But we're going to have a cup of tea and supper, and you get an opportunity to have a chat to myself and that later as well. But I'll just run through how we're going to run tonight's meeting, and then I'll just introduce some of the councillors and staff who are here tonight as well. First off, we'll just give you a little bit of background about what we've been doing and discussions that I've had and my staff have had regarding trying to get a supermarket to Blackbutt. Then we'll get, if we did get some positive feedback and in general people were in favour, we know we're not going to get 100% agreement one way or the other. That's life, that's what happens. I'll then ask Phil Harding, straight after I say a few words, our Economic Development Manager, to say how Council would progress that if that was the will of the people of Blackbutt and Banarkin. Then I've got both Bronwyn and Sheena here. They've got cordless mics and they'll be around the hall, and I'll just call for any questions. If you just raise your hand and one of the girls will get to you as quickly as possible. If you could make your questions concise, please. It's about asking questions and getting all the relevant information tonight that you possibly can. And then if I can't answer that question, if it's from a tender point of view, if that's where we're at, Phil Harding is the expert at that, and he will talk to that. So, and we'd like to say, if you do put your hand up and you do want to ask a question, if you could just state your name, where you're from, and ask your question, we'll do our very best to answer it. So tonight is all about communication, getting back feedback from the residents of Blackbutt and Banarkin and the surrounding area. Let's go back. I guess when I became mayor in April 2012, one of the big issues down here in Blackbutt was, sorry, before I start I should recognise my fellow councillors who are here. I'm keen to get into this tonight, so I've been thinking about this for a while. Our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Keith Campbell, is in attendance. Of course, our Divisional Councillor, Councillor Deborah Palmer, is here. Councillor Kathy Duff, Councillor, who else have we got here tonight? Oh, Damien Tessman's here. Damien was the first of us here to arrive. Also our CEO, Ken McLaughlin, Stan Taylor, our General Manager of Planning, Phil Harding, as I said, is here. Greg Griffiths, our Manager of NRM and Parks, and also Sheena and Bronwyn. And we do have an apology tonight from Councillor Barry Green. And I haven't heard from Ros Hype, our Division 6 councillor, but I can't see Ros in the crowd. I'm sure she'll let me know if she turns up. But can I just, an apology from Councillor Barry Green. There's the Queensland Caravan people are in town, and he was opening that this afternoon at about 5 o'clock. So what I want to do is just a brief overview of where we're at, why we've got to get everyone together tonight, and then we'll have some words from Phil, and then we'll open the floor up for questions. And then I just ask everyone if you'd like to stay around, there'll be a sandwich and a cup of tea after that, and we can all continue the conversation. As I said, when I became mayor in 2012, and I don't have to tell you, on the issue of a supermarket in Blackbutt, it's been something that's been asked about by residents and how we get one here. I'm not going to go back through the old ground. I wasn't a mayor when there was the two previous applications, which have both been approved by council, and then they didn't go forward for one reason or another. I didn't progress that previous ground. I didn't think that was the situation. What I was asked to do, we had a meeting here back in October. It was predominantly about other issues, rates and the road levy, etc. But one thing when I got to talk to people, apart from that, once again it was reiterated to me about the need for a supermarket to grow our community and to grow our town. And we do have a lot of elderly people, transport's an issue, etc, etc. So as the mayor, that was my responsibility to see whether what we could do. Our role in council is, we're not developers. I see my role as an enabler. If the people of Blackbutt say to me they need something or want something, I do my best to fix it. Sometimes I can't do that, but I do that to the best of my ability. So to try to find someone or to get a supermarket here, I started that, and whilst I'd been the mayor for some 15 months, I guess I was waiting for the knock on the door. I was waiting for a developer to come and say, we want to put a supermarket in Blackbutt or some other development or whatever. And I was, as economic development is also my portfolio, and I was keen for that to happen. Can I say that knock on the door has never happened? And still to this day, it hasn't happened. It is tough out there. You've got 78 mayors across Queensland, all trying to bring economic development to the region. We've tried to do that. We've got all their major towns. We've got in Blackbutt, we've got, as you know, Nanango, Kingaroy, Wondermergen and Proston and other towns like Cumbria to try to stimulate, because things are tough. Things are tough from a federal and state side, that extra money, they both got a huge amount of debt, and we've got to work through that. So we had to be proactive in a way, so we looked at it, and I talked to our staff and through CEO Ken and to Phil, because that's his domain in economic development, and what would it need to get a supermarket here? And my view is, I just know that predominantly, and I guess I'll find out tonight, though we've got a couple of complications and that's why we're here, but predominantly no one has said to me we don't need a supermarket. Mr Mayor, if you could get a supermarket, that would be great. So that is what I did. I talked to the relevant people who build supermarkets, who provide an opportunity for people like IGA to come in and set up in a town like this. And without going into a huge amount, we looked at where, and it is all about these days, it's about where you can have it. I must admit, Councillor Palmer spoke to me, and we talked about the tennis court site. And I was really excited about that, because this has been a topsy-turvy 12 months, I can guarantee you. You know, 1 minute I think I've got someone interested, and then it doesn't happen that way or whatever. We thought, Councillor Palmer and myself, I thought, well, that looks an ideal site. And maybe if we can get a new tennis court built in town, it's just around the corner from the main street, etc., that would be a win-win situation for us all. It's not owned by council, so it's that block is actually freehold, owned by the Blackbutt Tennis Club, so there would have had to be an agreement there. But I did put that to the people who were interested, had shown some interest to say, and these were just to talk to people about what would it take to get a supermarket here, to find that out. I believe they came up here and had a look around, and the feedback that I got and what I was told is that to get the margins and the amount that cost it to build a new supermarket is substantial. And to get an investor, they have to have, that investment has to look like it's a fruitful one, otherwise you won't get people to do that. They said to me that they believed that they would struggle getting someone to build a supermarket there because it didn't have main street frontage. Despite it had a great area, size, but I didn't go, and to be fair, I'm not going to talk about that greatly tonight because that's what I was told, and I stopped talking to anybody about that, and we hadn't gone through that communication strategy and hadn't talked, to be fair, to the Blackbutt Tennis Club either. Then looked at what else did we have in the CBD, what else did we have around the town, and I didn't really know. But I did know because we were looking and were talking with the Blackbutt Hall Committee at the time when I was doing the budgets about putting some power and some extra facilities to the spare block of land here where we have the markets, etc., to make that a little bit better. And then it was suggested to me, well, and I looked at that and I talked to various people, what would be, you know, what do we need size-wise? And basically they said you're looking at, you need 2,500 square metres, around about that figure. So that's not big enough. As I said, it was suggested to me that it was, would there be a possibility to move the hall? So when that was suggested and we looked at the size, as you know, council owned both blocks of land, but the hall is run by the Blackbutt Hall Committee. When we looked at that, corner facility, access could be not off the main street, where is it for people to walk to, etc. How does it fit with the other businesses to support them? It ticks a few boxes. The people that I've been talking to and who I talked about, I said, well, what happens if this was available? And they said, we would be interested. And that was the first completely positive thing we got. Since then, council, so we looked at that, I talked to some people, I did talk to the Hall Committee, I talked to a few other people in Blackbutt and got their views, and they seemed to indicate that, hey, as long as we had the hall, that sounds pretty good. That would be great. That's worth pursuing. So that's really where tonight is about. Basically, there are some interests there. What would happen from our point of view, if there was support for us to do that, and Phil will touch on this in a minute, is that we would go to tender. So, as I said, we're an enablers, we're not developers or whatever, we would go to tender. Even if we decided to do that, that doesn't guarantee we get a supermarket. We may get one tenderer, we may get 10. We might get a half a dozen developers who have got links with IGA, Woolworths, Coles, who knows. I have not gone down that path at all, and that's not my role to do so. My role is to find out, is there any interest there? From a council point of view, it has to be cost neutral. There's no money in the budget for it, so what I'm saying is what we get in the tender, if it was to move the hall to somewhere else, there could be no additional cost to ratepayers on top of that. That's always been part of it, and we believe that. So that process would go through. So technically, and I think if I throw it open shortly after we hear from Phil, I can answer some questions, but really, from tonight, what it came down to is because this is the community's hall. It's as simple as that. And if the people of Blackbutt don't want the hall moved, that's fine. I'm your mayor, that's fine. I take that on board. That's your right to say that, and we'll move on. And I don't know where I can find, because I really did try to find any other council land that may be suitable. We have received an expression of interest. My council has to reply to that. So what would happen either way, and from tonight, we would get a report would be prepared that would go to council. Now, if you said tonight, if there was an overwhelming group of people, if the overwhelming response was no, we don't want the hall moved, that report would be prepared by the office of the council, would come to council, and council would then no doubt say, well, that's what the people have said, we won't take this any further, and we would advise the people who sent in the expression of interest accordingly. If, however, you said, we think this should be pursued, a report would come to council with that we did have this public consultation with the Blackbutt and Benarkan community, and they think, the majority of people think, that we should proceed. That all gets handed over to Phil and his team, and he goes through this process where we get tenders. And that's where you go through the whole process about moving the hall, and there's asbestos in the hall, where the hall's going to go, if that was the case. And that would be more community consultation. That's not the consultation tonight. We needed to go one step at a time. My charter from the people of Blackbutt and Benarkan was to find a way to get you a supermarket. If you don't want me to do that anymore, that is fine. I won't feel badly about that or whatever. I will move on and try to do whatever I can in our whole region to improve the livability of it. But that's what the people of Blackbutt have said to myself and to my council, and that's why the councillors are here tonight to do that. So we're here to listen to you. Right? But no decision has been made, and basically, even if we go to tender, or even if you say tonight, yes, let's go ahead, that doesn't guarantee we get a supermarket, right? Because we may not get an appropriate tender. And the other thing is I wanted to point out is there is no way until that was locked in, if we did go to tender, locked in to get a supermarket with this hall moved. There is no possibility that this hall would be moved and then we end up with a vacant block of land. That's the way, and Phil will explain that now. I might just hand that over to Phil, then I'll just have a couple of comments, and then we'll take the mics around to hear from everybody. So if you could hold your questions till then, that would be great. But I just asked Phil Harding to come over, and he'll go through those points that I've touched on. Thanks, Phil.
There's not a lot left for me to say, explain. The tender process that we'd go through is really quite straightforward. It's a process whereby we'd go out for an offer to sell or lease the land for someone to do that through us, and we would condition that on the price of the offer to cover the cost to move the hall to the preferred site. It would also have to meet main roads conditions, it would have to meet access conditions, so as the parking and everything around the new supermarket, if it happens, is all ties in with planning approval. We'd also be asking them to think about contributions to the community, to see what else they could do to benefit the whole community. And then the process then is that takes about 2 months for that to happen, and then it's got to go through a review process, it's got to go through council for approval, and then all the planning conditions have to be met. So it's a fairly long process. It's probably about a 6-month process until it would be awarded. And then if it's awarded, then following that there's the whole construction. The other important point is that the successful tender would be required to construct a building and operate a supermarket within an agreed time period. So once they've committed, they can't get out. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's not a complicated process, so happy to take questions.
Thanks, Bill, and we'll send that around. I just want to say that is exactly where we're at tonight. So we just need an indication from you. Technically, had we get a developer or someone come along and they wanted to buy some land, it would have nothing to do with me. It would just go through the process and go through Stan and the town planning boys, and we would condition it at a council meeting, etc., and the community wouldn't be consulted. It would just come up because that's what someone can do. It's just the council's role to make sure that fits, etc. But this is different, and it's like, sometimes it's like, can something just be easy? Because I'm thinking, the tennis courts, I'm thinking, we've got a winner here, this will be great. No, hang on. So that's why it's here. Please speak freely and ask your questions. I don't want to go over the same old thing and we can't get down. But technically what we're looking for tonight is to find out if the people of Blackbutt and Banarkin and surrounding areas have got an appetite to consider to move the hall, to open up these two prime business, commercial and business, they're zoned appropriately here, so that we can call tenders to see if we can get someone interested to build a supermarket here. That's as simple as it is tonight. There will be a lot, as Phil said, there's a lot of work to be done after that, and there will be a lot of consultation should that be a positive response that we get tonight. There will be a lot of consultation then, again, with all the community about where do we move it. We've had a couple of places already suggested, but that is the community need to be part of that, and how we landscape, what we do, etc. But that's the next step. But time moves on very, very quickly, doesn't it? And, we want to move on this as quickly as we can, but this is the people's hall. This hall belongs to the people of Blackbutt and Banarkin, and it has a wonderful history. And we want to retain that. But I guess I thought on the way down, and I mean, I'm going to hear from some Blackbutt people, but I guess my gut feeling when I came down tonight is the importance is the hall. If we can get better utilisation of the land and we can keep our hall, I think that's a win-win situation. But this is not for me to vote tonight. This is not. This is for me as the Mayor and fellow councillors and staff to hear from you guys, and we'll probably just ask for a show of hands to get an indicative view at the end of that. But let's open it up. Sheena and Bronwyn, if you could just state your name, put your hand up if you've got a question. I will try to answer it to the best of my ability, otherwise I'll flick the pass straight to Phil, and we'll go from there. So if we've got some questions, can we start off? Jeff, there's one right next to you, Sheena. Ronnie, if you want to go to the other side maybe, or over here, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, residents of Blackbutt area. I guess most of you know me. The Moulsley family's been around Blackbutt for a quarter of a century, so I'm almost a local. I'd like to put my hand up as one of the people who have approached, particularly the Mayor, on behalf of the community, I guess, to try and get a supermarket here. It is my belief this town is growing, and it's a vibrant community which is missing one important, very important link, and that is quality food outlet. We need thank you. We need a food link, or an IGA, something like Luke's down at Kilcoy. I think that's a quality outlet. And no disrespect to the one in Yarraman, great outlet, but Blackbutt needs one. And we've needed one for a long time. That's part one. If you accept that, then you move along to part two. Where would you put it? Now, if I was going to build one, I can tell you right now, without reservation, this is the corner I'd want it. Now, this is a great old hall, wonderful hall, but with a little bit of push and pull, we can get a developer to move this at their expense to an area, and in my opinion, I don't agree with the tennis club, and I've spoken to Mr. Mayor about this. I believe we should move it down to the rail trail area. There is a heap of room down there. I'm part of a small committee that has worked for quite a few years on maintaining the rail trail. We have spare area down there. and it links with the Show Society, which I know needs extra buildings. What a wonderful opportunity this community has to move this hall down there, not at the community's expense, not at the ratepayers' expense, but at a developer's expense, and then put it in a more picturesque and user-friendly environment away from the traffic, so that our elderly and young can use it without fear of getting run over by a bloody Pozolanic or something. So, anyway, I won't bore you anymore. I promise to be brief. So thank you for listening. That's my point of view.
Any other questions? We've got one up here, have we?
My name's Kelly Smith, I live out in Franks Road. This is to do with the sorting it all out, Mr Mayor. Is there any danger at all of the state government poking their bib in and stopping it?
Thanks, Kelly. Look, the leakage from, and I think Phil touched on it, main roads will condition it from if it got that far, it had to go through town planning. So there'll be conditions. I think that will help a little bit, but I'm not a town planner, so I probably shouldn't say too much. But I would think being on the corner, and I would think that if it was put here, they would work around so access may come in not off the main street, off the side street. That would be sensible to me, but I don't even know what that. But that's what they would be. They would be a referral agency. Stan, correct me if I'm wrong. They would be a referral agency, and they would have to go through the whole process. But that would be I think they'd be. I'm sure Deb Freckington would be very supportive. But I mean, it's a main roads thing. It's not the government wouldn't get involved. It's an agency thing, so it's main roads. Thank you. Who else we got? Sheena?
I'm just wondering about the logistics of moving the hall, what's involved, and what sort of preservation would we have? What guarantees would we have that it wouldn't be a big mess up and so on? You know, just some kind of logistics.
Okay, thank you. And look, I've got no doubt that there'll be some issues when you move the hall. This is a big building. But that'll be written in. That's part of Phil's brief. That's going to be in, and that's when I move away. Technically, I move away from this from tonight either way. But that's for Phil to write in, and that will be part of it. What Jeff said. You know, this is an opportunity for us to do this, get a supermarket in, and at no cost to the ratepayers. And as I said, we go to tender, what we get back, we don't know. We don't know what's in the open. But all we do know is that we have received an initial response to say that someone is interested. Well, Bronze? Maureen?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. I've got a couple of questions here. Is Is the council land to be sold?
Yep.
It will be sold?
No. If you want to give me two questions, I'll answer them both.
Okay. The other one is, why can't Washington's be reapproached?
No, hang on. They're both good, appropriate questions. The first one is whether it will be sold or not. I think initially, from a council point of view, I don't know, we haven't discussed that. Let's say, it'll be written, it could be sold, it could be leased or whatever. There's an issue, I know, that sometimes if someone is looking to fund this, if they don't own the land, they struggle to get bank finance. It's often harder for them to get bank finance. But that'll be Phil's brief, and he'll work through that. And I think you did say, Phil, that either option will be available. Secondly, with Washington's, when I became the mayor, I had a quick, to bring me up to date, I had a look at the files. As you know, there was 2 applications. I haven't chose to go back there because we're looking, as I said, no one's knocked on my door. There is no issue. I know there's the land there, but if Washington's or someone similar wanted, it would be open. They can put in a tender as well. So that's it. But I haven't gone past there. I thought that had been done enough by the people of Blackbutt and Banark, and it was time to move on. 4 years, the term of mayor is a short term. You want to see action, I want to try to deliver.
Hello everybody, my name's Ken Fox, I live down at Enid Court. You'll probably see me in meetings and other things. I grew up here and my great-grandparents migrated here back in 1911. So I have a real fine tradition with this. In fact, some of the chewing gum I probably dropped at the movies is probably somewhere in the cracks of the floor. Now, I'd like to, it's probably not a question, but I'd like to talk to what I call the traditionalists. And when I heard they were going to move the hall, I thought, oh no, that's where all my memories, my childhood memories are. And then I thought about it and waited with the IGA and I thought, the hall's still going to be there. Right, it's down there in our historic area. So I can still drive past the hall and say, oh, that's where I had to spill my jaffers on the floor or whatever. And got a kick in the pants from mum and dad. But, so, for the traditionalists, I'd like to remind you also, before we even had a hall, we had the railway station down there with the trains coming through, and we had a goods shed. And that is where they held all their functions, dances, weddings, and everything. So, what the hall moving down there, with the hall moving down there, we've still gone back to the tradition of the old goods shed, because the hall's in the area where Blackbutt used to entertain itself. So, if any of you are thinking sad and all that, you know, we've got to let emotion go out of it. You can still drive past here and say, that's where the old hall stood and that's where I used to chase the girls or something. But I do ask, like the Ellery family over here, that, look at it, this building has been here for years and years. Look at it, it's been done up, but that floor, I believe, is the original floor. 1938. Yeah, 1938. Well, I wasn't there then. I was born later. A couple of years. Anyway, yeah, I would ask that everything that we've got here, please keep it, so that we can go down to the hall down there. And I did hear there was a move, if they couldn't keep it, they'd probably put up a shed. A big shed thing, you know, hall. Well, that's going to destroy us, our memories.
That's never been considered, sir, nor would it be. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Good on you, Wayne. And I'd like to thank Jeff. Good on you, Jeff. And I would urge you all to vote yes. Move the hall and get the IGA.
We've got Jeff Connor over here. We've got a couple of gentlemen along the side. Just bear with us.
Thank you. Jeff Connor, Blackbutt Medical Centre. I'd like to speak on behalf of the Aged Care Association of Blackbutt and the young people who are also members of our community. If we have need to have a function like this at this hall, it is just not safe to have our population of people trying to find parks in a limited area at this location. However, win-win, if this site could be used as a supermarket and this hall was relocated to a safer site, thanks Mr Fox, it would be great to see it down the showgrounds and the railhead area. You would have unlimited parking, quite safe, quite secure and quite usable. The youth of our community are they're here. They're not represented tonight, unfortunately. They're probably home with mum or dad enjoying school holidays. But there would be 50 jobs, 60 jobs that would be available to our community without the flow-on effect. So they have their job, they earn their money, they go down the servo, they go down the boozer, they go down into the supermarket and they spend the money locally. So 2 points to consider, the elderly and the young.
Yep.
Ian Campbell, to Romeo Court, Blackbutt. I'd just like to put the council on notice, so in front of 300 witnesses or more, if nothing is done about a fire break on Staines Road, we're going to be in trouble. That's all I'd like to say. I'm in favour of a shopping centre, but I think the priority is quarter of Blackbutt will be out of the home if a fire break is not done through there. I do not want a road, I simply want a fire break so the fire brigade has got access. Thank you.
Happy to talk to you straight after the meeting. Brian? Peter?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Peter Scott, and I've been here for a long, long time. My great-grandfather came here in 1889, so our family has a long association with the town, and I have a long association with this hall. In fact, I went to my first dance here, I went to my first movie show here, so sentimentality, I love the place. But I have to say, as did Jeff, that I was one of the people that suggested that this hall should be moved to make way for a supermarket. And I made that suggestion to the Mayor on the basis that this is a community hall. It is owned by the people. So the land belongs to us. And we should therefore use that land to the best ability, or to its best ability, to ensure that the town has the facilities and the infrastructure that it deserves. And it is my view that we can safely move the hall, we can preserve it, we can landscape it, we can put it in a better and a safer position, and using the next block, we can then have a supermarket that this town so rightly deserves. But it's perhaps more than just the supermarket. It's what the supermarket will bring. It will bring jobs, it will bring economic development, it will increase visitations to the town, so there will be more money coming to the town. And I think you will find that our young people, which Jeff touched on before, will be appreciative of that development because it will give them jobs, it will give them the opportunity to find employment. I'm not sure that it will bring 50 or 60 jobs, but it will bring employment, and it will bring a better lifestyle to this town, and it will enhance the value of everyone's properties in the district as well as the town, because finally, this place will be seen as a lifestyle destination. And I would suggest to you tonight that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There hasn't been too many bright spots on the horizons of the past that this town has had to celebrate. But I think this one is an opportunity not to be missed. And I would encourage you to support the Mayor's proposal, and I think that only good things will come from this development.
Sheila, you got someone up the back there? Yep, thank you.
I'm a fairly late comer to Blackbutt. I just wanted to make one point about my streetscape, that sort of half a kilometre of quite attractive buildings that we have, and I feel if we move the hall, it will sort of destroy that part of beautiful Blackbutt in terms of architecture. I don't know whether people would agree, because it would seem to be a better place to put it elsewhere, say where the sports ground is, or, to leave this section intact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just to touch on that, the streetscape, and I don't want to get off the subject, but part of that, and whether this goes ahead or not, as you will know, Council have budgeted $3 million in the budget to be done over, which work to start after Easter next year. Now, that is to get started to fix the drainage and the curb and channeling or whatever. That work will come down past Nev Smash repairs and past the fruiterer, because that's the first part in town, and I know the engineers have already got that drawn up. The rest of that work will come back, and I want to bring that back to a meeting as well to look at to kick-start that. But I have been advised, and I've talked to our engineers about that, and I know Councillor Tessman has, is that the drainage is the real issue that we've got to do first. We know that if we get a storm here, people can't get out of their cars in the main street. So this will be part of that as well. Now, whether we do that, whether we get a supermarket or not, that money has been earmarked and that work will be done as well. And that part of streetscaping. Blackbutt is a beautiful place anyway. And I can tell you what, I travel and I go to all our towns, and I say this everywhere. There is more people in Blackbutt, and our CBD in Blackbutt's busier than any other CBD, than any other of our towns, and that this can really build on it. And I know, and it's not for me to comment, but I know, but I will, because I've got the microphone at the moment. But, and I know there'll be other businesses, and Jeff's got an interest with the business, and you know, if you get a supermarket, they'll tuck, you know, they will probably have a little bit of maybe hardware stuff, or because everyone has a bit of everything. And I know, you know, they might have a little bit, maybe they'll sell pies or something. And you know, Jim, the baker's here. Jim's pies are that bloody good. Everyone will go there anyway, and everyone does, because everybody talks to me about it. What you will see, what will come out of this is you'll get an influx of people, and your businesses that you've currently got here will start to flourish and build, and it'll become a domino effect, because this is a great town.
I'm Lucy Custer. I don't have a long association with Blackbutt. I've only been here for 7 years. With my husband, we run the Edelweiss B&B out of town. I would like to make one comment about the streetscape and the buildings around. Is there any reason why that supermarket should be a concrete block? It could very well have a frontage that looks a little bit like the other buildings. Why not? They do it in other countries, and they have to keep the general streetscape and facades similar. The other thing is, with moving the hall, say, to the showgrounds, it will also be a great benefit when this festival in September is being held, because everything will be in one place, it will be safe, just plenty of parking, can attract people. And the committee there has been working very hard to make this event a success, and it will surely benefit them as well.
Thank you, Lucy. And I think that's a valid comment. If we do get one, I'd be surprised if it doesn't get to build in with the character as well, because it's what people can do with the building products. Up the back. Ron, lady here too, next to the front.
Hello, my name is Cassandra Kent, and I live 2 doors from the development, and I'm a disability liaison officer down at the Royal Brisbane, and I also work for CGC. I'm looking around tonight at a lot of grey hairs, and I know that people don't like to hear that, but I deal with people on a daily basis who can't afford to go to hospital, who cannot afford on their pensions to do so many different things, and the logistics of being in Blackbutt is you need to travel. So anybody who's against this development, I hope you'll think twice about our elderly residents and people with disabilities who cannot afford to go out of town to buy their food or need to arrange transport with other people, and they just do not have the money. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Megan Maloney. I'm living in Blackbutt at the moment.
Talk a bit closer to the microphone.
I'm living in Blackbutt at the moment. I'd like to know at what stage, if ever, this community will be told who the expression of interest is from.
Phil?
It's from Metcash, who own IGA, and we can accept an expression of interest from anyone we want, but once we go out to tender, all bets are off, and it's the best bidder is accepted.
Thanks, Phil. Peter?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Dusty. I've been living here for 18 months. A lot of you people know who I am, right? And what we want here is a good community. What we want here is something to be proud of. We need a shopping centre. How many of you people in town have been selling your houses for 9 or 10 years
and you can't get a bloody price. Only because we got nothing to come to. How many people in here have all you kids that pissed off out of town, sorry, right, that they got nothing to come to, right? I've got no problems with having a shopping centre here, right? You get the grade work done, you give them work to the community kids. You get a shopping centre done, it's giving our kids something to come home to and be proud of, right? We can give them a job instead of going away, right? Who's up with me? I'm with you, 100%. Let's go for it.
There you go. We've got a couple more, I think, so Peter?
Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to mention one thing now that the Mayor has revealed that Meshcash are one of the interested parties. I can also tell you that we're aware that there is another developer, a builder, with quite excellent reputation, who has done this sort of thing before, who's also interested in building a supermarket facility here in this town. And not just a supermarket facility, the possibility of extending it with specialty shops and also enhancing the foundations so that the building could in fact have a second storey for specialty offices or suites at some later stage. There's no point in building a building on this site and not making all of the preparations for extensions that might occur in the future. And I can tell you that if we didn't have to go through this tender process, the contact that my son and I have been working with, in conjunction with interest from Woolworths, they would start tomorrow. So this is a real possibility that we will get a supermarket in this town. It is needed, and I think for the first time, it's a reality. So just to let you know, there's more than just one interest in this project. There's probably going to be many more after the tender comes out, but it will happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Mr Mayor, my name is David Simpson. I live in Blackbutt. We desperately need a supermarket, but in my view, moving the hall makes as much sense as moving the Radnor or moving the medical centre. So, in 2004, there was a new town plan came out. It was supposed to be a master plan for the next 20 years. It holds nothing. A lot of the approved developments that were there when that plan weren't included on the plan when it was gazetted, and they were just dumped. There are reasons why the two sites didn't go ahead now, and I'd like to know what they are. And it can only be an economic thing. It could be stringent conditions that were placed on them. Whatever conditions were placed on the site across the road will be absolutely applicable to this one. One of the main ones I understand was the main roads conditions. It's exactly the same place here. It's a turn left instead of a turn right off the highway. So until we've gone down, if you have assessed the conditions against this block, which were placed on the others, then we might be a little bit nearer, but at the moment, it still seems a little bit of a pie in the sky to me.
Thank you, David. Any other questions? Lady here.
My name is Gloria Scarborough and I live in Brett Road in Blackbutt. Now I'm fairly new, I've only been here 10 years. And in that time I have seen and heard people wanting to have a supermarket for many reasons. One of the main reasons I think we should have a supermarket is just look at the amount of money that goes out of this community every week or every fortnight, when it could stay in our own community and help develop it. So yes, I agree with the supermarket, and I agree, and I know the history of this hall, and I think it would be better utilised, it would be better cared for down in the precinct of the showground. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria.
One more off the back, and then I think we'll just do a bit of a summary. Here we go.
Yeah, my name is Tony Johnson. I live out of Mount Bingham. I came to my first dance here in 1961, and I've been in and out of the place for years. I've been in earth moving, I've been in construction, and I've been involved with moving houses. I just wonder if anybody has even half estimated the cost of moving this building to another site. The cost of moving this building to another site, the developer could quite comfortably buy several blocks of land where Washington was going to build their shopping centre. If they were going to move this building under a tender and also buy this land, then build a shopping centre, they will have a big job recouping their money. Now, I'm not against having a shopping centre here. I was very disappointed to see the Washington Development shopping centre stopped. I was more disappointed to see Lee's shopping centre over here stopped. I'm just wondering why everybody is so bent on this building being shifted, because it's going to cost so much money. I don't know whether the Mayor has looked into the cost of removing buildings, but it's something that you've got to look into first. Thank you.
And that's a valid statement, and I think what I said at the start, this doesn't, whichever way we go tonight, it doesn't guarantee we get a supermarket. But you asked me to do my very best to get you a supermarket. I think, as Peter just said, we are on the cusp of getting one. And I think if we are proactive, if that's what the people want, they're not easy to get. If they were easy to get, they'd be popping up. They're not easy, and nothing's easy, and moving the hall's not going to be easy either. But I think there's a real possibility, otherwise we wouldn't have got the expression of interest. Can we take one or more too? I think if you've already asked a question, that's about it. We just want, there's a couple of, I think Deb wants, oh no, there's one here. Thanks, Deb.
My name's Bob Townsville from Blackbutt, Anita Road. As a matter the cost of moving this building here, probably, in my estimation, really about $200,000 at the most. We have to consider that the people who would be building the development would not be paying for the land. They would do a swap or they would lease. I understand that to be correct?
We're looking at a bit costly, so that's it. Yep. We're trying to get a supermarket here.
Yeah, so we're trying to get the supermarket. Now, as far as the historical significance of this building, I understand, I was talking to Anne-Marie some time ago, and she said that there used to be, I think, 2 or 3 pubs in this town, and the main road used to go that way up here or something like that. So this town has really altered quite a lot in the last 100 years. So to put a supermarket here, I think would be a good idea. The logistics, you have to consider the logistics of the situation here, because right uptown is right uptown. We've got all the other shops around here, they're going to feed off the people who come into the supermarket. It would create jobs. It would also add value to our homes, because people would like to buy in Blackbutt if they know there's a supermarket. And a lot of people are coming over from, most of the people here, I understand, are from the coast. A lot of people like myself are from the coast to come and get a tree change. And it's a beautiful spot. It certainly is a lovely spot. If we have a supermarket, I'm getting on, I'm getting pretty old. I don't like to travel to Kingaroy most every 2 weeks, and if I've got a supermarket here, well, I'll be certainly coming here to shop.
Thanks, Bob.
Hello, I'm like hosting this one. Now, apparently, it's my understanding that this hall wasn't purpose-built. It was moved here in the first place. If anybody can correct me on that one, I'd be more than happy to know the history of the hall. But when I moved here at the same time as Jeffrey, it was an RSL, a memorial hall. It wasn't a council hall. And it was purchased through the history books, on what I've read, in the 40s, refloored after it was moved here from another location. So, nostalgia speaking, it's sad to see it be moved, but if it's going to be in one place, it'll be the second move it's had anyway.
Thank you. Can I take this opportunity now? Are you happy just for a show of hands? As I said, it's got to go back to council. We've got a seat. So those, can I ask those in favour? It's going to be pretty straightforward. If you raise your hand, but those in favour that council continue, we get a report back to council, it then goes through Phil Harding's department, and we call for tenders, which will call for the removal of this hall as is and to be replaced at the appropriate place. Those in favour of that, please raise your hand. Those against? Okay, I'd like you to join us for a cup of tea, have a chat with the councillors. Can I thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.